Womanjika everyone, Womanjika meaning welcome. My name is Auntie Julianne and I'm an elder of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, and in recognition of doing my welcome to country, I'd like to pay my respects to my elders past, present, future and any elders that were here today, and I would also like to welcome you all here today. The Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung tribe consists of 3 families, the Nevins, the Terricks and the Wandans, and I'm part of the Nevin family. The 3 families all descend from one woman called Annie Barratt, which makes us one big family. Annie Barratt is the youngest sister of William Barratt, a pioneer for Aboriginal people in the 19th century, fighting for equality and land rights. I'm here today to welcome you all to the land of my ancestors. We call the land within our tribal boundaries our country. The Kulin Nation, Kulin meaning man, is made up of 5 groups. They are the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung, Boonwurrung, Tanarong, Watharong and Dja-dja-wurrung. And to give you an outline of the Wurundjeri country and the area we cover, Wurundjeri country extends from north to the Great Dividing Range, east to Mount Baw Baw, south to the Moorallie Creek and west to the Werribee River. We cover a diverse range of land from the mountains to the beach and everything in between. Many thousands of years ago, if an Aboriginal person from another tribe wanted to cross our boundary, they would have to sit at the boundary and wait for the Narragator, which is the headman, or an elder to come past to give permission to cross. Traditional Aboriginal culture was highly territorial, and visitors risked a violent reprisal for crossing a tribal or clan boundary without this permission, and this is how a welcome to country originated in our culture. Traditionally, being welcomed onto country meant you respected Bunjil's law. Bunjil the wedge-tailed eagle is our creator, and Wah the crow is our protector. And as long as you looked after the country, you had access to our waterways and our land resources. And when you enter our country, we ask that you respect our resources, our fauna, flora and water, as they are very special to us. And when you are ready to leave, we ask that you leave it the way you found it.
lots of council services that support our community. We support families with children, including health services for children and mums, vaccinations, playgroups, childcare, and kinder. We support young people in our community. Through events and activities, we have services that can support people with disability, older people, and carers and family of people with disability and older people. Our libraries support everyone in our community, help people learn new things, and are free to join. We support our community to have fun and be active through events and activities, sport, and recreation areas. We help look after our places and spaces, the environment, and local businesses. We have laws to keep people safe, to make sure buildings are safe, to make sure roads and footpaths are safe, to make sure our places and spaces are safe. We make sure everyone follows the law to keep our community safe and happy. Moonee Valley. It's a great place to live, work, and visit.
Mayor of Moonee Valley City Council. We aim to get started every second Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. However, sometimes there are some delays behind the scenes that we need to work through, and we appreciate your patience. You can have a look at our agenda online for all the issues that we'll be talking about tonight, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks. So every second Tuesday we work through our council agenda, and what that means is working through things from procedural, day-to-day issues, financial reports, all the way up to the most important things in Moonee Valley, in Victoria or in Australia. And councillors can put up alternatives to that, can put up our staff officers' recommendation, and we can debate that and vote yes or no at the end of the day. Welcome everyone to the Council meeting on the 9th of April 2024, which I now declare open at 6:31 p.m. I'd like to warmly welcome our members of the public in the gallery who have joined us tonight, as well as those watching at home on our live stream. As well as the live stream, the video recording of this meeting will be available, so attendees in the gallery are advised that your presence may be recorded. I also ask that mobile phones be switched to silent during the meeting, and a reminder to the public in the gallery that as per Governance Rule 75.1, personal video and audio recordings are not allowed. On behalf of Moonee Valley City Council, I respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their spirits, ancestors, elders and community members. Item 2 on the agenda is apologies and leave of absence. I note that Councillor Sharp is an apology for tonight's meeting and Councillor Bedio has joined us via Zoom. There's also an extraordinary vacancy in Buckley Ward due to the resignation of a former councillor at the last council meeting, and the Victorian Electoral Commission have advised that they will hold a count back to fill that vacancy, which will be live streamed at 10 a.m, Monday the 29th of April 2024 on their website. Item 3 on the agenda is the confirmation of minutes. Councillors, can I please have a mover and seconder that the minutes from the council meeting held on Tuesday the 26th of March 2024 be confirmed? Moved Councillor Sypek, seconded Councillor Bedio. Councillor Sypek, would you like to speak to the motion? Councillor Bedio? No. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Item 4 is declarations of conflict of interest. Does any councillor have a conflict of interest on any item tonight? Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have a standing conflict of interest on items 9.1 as previously disclosed to the CEO.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Are there any others? No. Item 5 is presentations. Councillors, do we have any presentations tonight? If not, and because I missed the last meeting, I'd like to acknowledge Essendon North Primary School for having me a couple of weeks ago to meet with the Year 3s. It was a fantastic day and morning to meet everyone and learn all about civics and what we do at Council. I'd like to thank Lisa Doe for organising the day, and I'd like to thank any questions from the students and welcome any future questions to our public council meeting. So thank you. Item 6 is petitions and joint letters. Councillors, do we have any petitions or joint letters? No. Item 7 is public question time, and we've got 12 this evening. The first 2 are from Alex Wilder, who isn't here tonight. So Alex has asked, when is the council planning on piloting FOGO collection for apartment buildings? Thanks for your question, Alex. I'll ask our CEO to respond.
Thank you, Alex. Through the Mayor. It is a completion of the current FOGO being rolled out. Council will commence a trial of FOGO recycling from apartment buildings in mid to late 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. And the second question from Alex is, what kind of commitment can the council provide on this beyond the essential watch this space currently offered on the website? And I'll ask the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Alex. Through the Mayor. Once the trial has been completed and the results analysed, suitable service options will be assessed and then recommended to Council. This information will also be provided on the website. Thank you.
Thank you. The next 2 questions are from Russell McIntosh, who isn't here this evening either. Russell's first question is, can Council please give an update on the progress of the public-private partnership EOI process for a highball stadium in Moonee Valley? And I'll ask the CEO to I'll ask our Director of Strategy and Planning, Brett Walters, to respond.
Through you, Mayor. Officers have completed the EOI assessment. The respondents will be notified shortly of the outcome, and a council report relating to indoor sports facilities will be presented prior to the end of this financial year.
Thank you, Director of Strategy and Planning. And the second question for you is, given the EOI process closed on October 1, 2023, why has it taken 6 months to provide the basketball community and broader community any feedback on the results of this process as we desperately await action on this priority project for the Moonee Valley community?
Through you, Mayor. Expressions of interest typically provide new information that requires detailed assessment. Public-private partnerships are in themselves pretty complex matters. The potential development of a highball stadium is a very significant project for Moonee Valley, and it requires careful consideration of the various options for delivery in the context of Council's broader strategic priorities.
Thank you, Director, Strategy and Planning, and for your debut at Council Question Time. Our next two questions are from Peter Robinson, who isn't joining us tonight, and Peter's asked, in the past few days, tragic drownings have seen the media report about the lack of swimming pools in Melbourne's western suburbs. Several hundred adults, including recent immigrants and refugees, haven't been able to gain access to learn to swim programs at one pool alone, as reported by 3AW. The indoor 25-metre pool at East Keilor is congested, and some swimming clubs cannot even access lanes in the outdoor pool due to congestion and a 7 p.m. closure. It is obvious that the outdoor pool at East Keilor should remain open later each day and open all year long. Can the MVCC fix this issue immediately? And I'll ask our CEO to respond.
Thank you, Peter. Susan Mayer. The Keilor East Leisure Centre is a community facility which caters to a wide range of community needs. The indoor 25-metre pool provides for aquatic programming, aquatic exercise, laying high from community groups and swimming clubs, lap swimming, recreational swimming, water walking, and water play. Aquatic programming and regular laying high bookings are scheduled, and the lap lane availability is available on the KLC website. The capacity of the 25-metre pool is monitored for patron safety. There are no current congestion concerns with the 25-metre indoor pool. All requests for laying high from community groups and swimming clubs have been responded to. There are no capacity issues associated with the swimming clubs accessing the outdoor pool, and there are no known capacity issues with patrons seeking to enroll into the Learn to Swim program. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Peter's second question is, it is noted that the MVCC and Mayor are strong supporters of the Airport West/Keilor train station. It has been stated by the Vic government that an airport surcharge will apply to all travel on this airport line. An amount was mentioned a couple of years ago and that indexation would apply. Can MVCC inform residents about how much this surcharge will be? I'll ask the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Peter. Susan Mayer. Council has not been advised of an airport surcharge. Please seek clarification from relevant Victorian Government departments. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. The next two questions from Matthew Lynn, who isn't here tonight either. Matthew's first question is, what are Council's official plans to increase affordable housing and end homelessness? And how is this coordinated with others, including nearby councils? And I'll ask the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Matt. Susan Mayer. Council officers are currently working on the background research to inform a housing strategy. A housing strategy will consider Council's role in housing and opportunities to increase the supply of affordable housing and support the future housing needs of our community. One of the strategic directions of our long-term strategy, NV 2040, is a city with housing for all, where housing is appropriate across our city for all stages and circumstances of life. In 2023, Council made a submission in response to the Australian government's proposal to adopt a national housing and homeless plan. Council's submission identified the need for greater efforts by all levels of government, recognizing that there is no one quick fix. It also recommended a number of on-the-ground initiatives to improve access to safe, secure, appropriate and affordable housing for all people and families at a different age and different stages of life. We are working with the Victorian Government on its recent housing statement to encourage greater investment in affordable housing. We partner with other councils as part of the M9, a peak body made up of 9 inner metropolitan councils, which has a subgroup of affordable housing. We are also a member of the Inter-Council Affordable Housing Forum. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. The next question from Matthew is, as you all know, people sleeping rough are in dire need of stability, especially when forced to sleep in public places. One of the great challenges faced by these people is being moved on without clear reason. Does Council have an official move on policy for people experiencing homelessness, and can you detail how it is enforced? I'll ask the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Matt. Through the Mayor, Moonee Valley City Council do not have an official move-on policy for people experiencing homelessness. Where community members experiencing homelessness are identified, Council officers work alongside these community members to supply referrals to appropriate services. Thank you.
Thank you. The next two questions are from Hamish Jones, and Hamish's first question is, I was walking near Strathmore North Primary School and I noticed approximately 10 bikes travelling along the trail at speed, none of whom made any effort to slow down at the bridge crossing. I can only imagine how risky this is during school drop-off and pick-up time. Signage is no good for children in primary school who cannot read what it says. And cyclists are not paying attention to their own warnings. Can Council, as a matter of urgency, remove the shade mesh from the Moonee Ponds Creek Trail temporary fences near Oden Street to increase visibility, and also immediately implement other safety measures such as ripple strips to slow down cyclists at this location before a serious accident occurs? And I'll ask the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Hamish, for your question and raising your concern. Council has addressed concerns by lowering the shade cloth to 1.2 metre for better visibility and cyclist safety. Additional measures include reduced speed signs and improved green surface treatment at the crossing point. Thank you.
Thank you. Hamish's second question is, Moonee Valley City Council recently released a community satisfaction survey. There was a Facebook post about it on the Council's Facebook page on March 29th. Question 22 has caused some community consternation given it presents only two real options for answers, either higher rates or cuts to services. Given this dichotomy, I have a two-part question relating to this survey. A, what was the process, including any quality assurance for the approval of these questions? And B, can Council confirm the process for investigation regarding cost efficiencies and reducing costs to support ratepayers in the middle of a cost of living crisis? And I'll ask the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Hamish. Through the Mayor, every year Victorian councils each undertake a community satisfaction survey. The primary survey is conducted by telephone with a representative sample of the population measured. We engage JWS Research to conduct the telephone survey, as do a majority of Victorian councils through Local Government Victoria. The questions asked in the telephone survey fall into one of the three categories. First one is compulsory questions, which every Victoria Council asks so that the results can be published in a comparable way on the Know Your Council website. Second category, standard optional questions, questions which follow a standard script and which we can opt to ask but do not have to. Category 3, tailored questions, which are questions that Council scripts ourselves. One standard question or optional question asks, if you had to choose, would you prefer to see Council rate rises to improve local services, or would you prefer to see cuts in Council services to keep Council rates at the same level as they are now? Using the scripted standard optional question means that we are able to compare our response with the responses received by other councils across metropolitan Melbourne and Victoria. Standardized questions also allow for year-on-year comparisons. This year, in addition to conducting the telephone survey, we have also opted to make the same survey questions available online in order to reach a larger number of community members. In regards to question B, through our service planning, Council is constantly seeking to ensure the services we provide to the community are efficient, effective, and sustainable. There is opportunity for community members to provide the feedback when we release the draft budget. The engagement is scheduled to commence later in April. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Our last two questions tonight are from Declan McGuinness. So Declan, I'll ask you to come up to the podium. And the microphone's on, so please ask your first question.
Thank you. Okay, so Council has previously stated that it has reviewed its procurement policy and claimed that its activities are performed in an open, transparent and ethical manner that meets proper ethical expectations and all legal requirements. In light of this, what is Council's position on permitting weapons manufacturers to operate in Moonee Valley?
Thank you, Declan, for your question, and I'll ask the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Declan. Susan Mayor. Declan, the specific question asked is not relating to Council's procurement policy. Rather, it relates to planning permit application process. It should be noted that Council, as the responsible authority, is required to evaluate all the land use planning applications based on the individual merits and relevant legislation, including the Moonee Valley Planning Scheme. Thank you.
Thank you. And Declan, your second question?
Sure. In light of recent events where presentations made during council meetings have significantly misrepresented the nature of interactions between the community groups and council, as well as instances where false accusations were levied against such groups, what mechanisms of accountability does Moonee Valley City Council have in place to ensure that councillors' statements accurately reflect the realities of community engagement? Furthermore, how does the council plan to address and rectify the damage caused by such misleading representations to the trust and relationship between the council and its constituents?
Thank you. And the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Declan. Susan Mayor. The Council is not aware of the specifics of the alleged misleading representations referred to in your question. I encourage you to contact the relevant councillors to clarify your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO, and thank you, Declan, for your questions. And all of our questioners tonight. Item 8 on the agenda is reports from delegates. Councillors, do we have any reports as delegates? Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have one report from the Farnham Street Neighbourhood Learning Centre Board of Management, on which I am an ex officio member along with Councillor Isa. We had a meeting on the 28th of March, and the main topic of discussion was the strategic plan that they're working on at the moment to guide the next steps and ensure they're delivering for the changing community. The person that they have engaged to help them with that plan has linked with council officers to better understand demographic changes and community needs, and also has spoken to us on Rose and I, on the priorities of council so that we can make sure that we're working in partnership with Farnham Street in the future. Farnham Street's also doing a big piece of work on embedding the new child safe standards, which we know council has also been doing, and is a very complex process, so they're doing a fantastic job there. And all of this is on top of the many amazing programs that they continue to run with formal and informal education classes, facilitating social connection and positive mental health. Farnham Street at the moment have a really strong and engaged and skilled board, and it's putting them in a really good, sound position to keep continuing the amazing work they've done in supporting the Flemington community.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson, and wholeheartedly agree. Item 9 is reports. Item 9.1 is MV/471/2023 at 33 Dean Street, Moonee Ponds, parentheses, Moonee Valley Racecourse. And I acknowledge that Councillor Sypek has declared a conflict of interest and is leaving the chamber. Councillors, the officer's recommendation will be shown on the screen. There it is. Do I have a motion? Councillor Isa.
Move the officer's recommendation. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Hodgson. Councillor Isa, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. The intensity of development on this side has obviously caused different views and discussion and debate, and some concerns over the past few years. As councillors, we've tried to approach each matter and really drill down into the detail to make sure that the application meets all of the specifications of the planning scheme, and we've done the same with this particular application. So this is for there are sort of two parts of this building. One is about 45 metres and the other one is a bit higher at, I think, 58 metres. And so we've looked at things, we've looked at the various elements of this particular application, particularly with respect to the height and the scale and the bulk and the setbacks, and those issues are things that we've looked at with respect to all of the different stages of the housing development on the site. With respect to the height, the heights for this particular part of the site, which is 9D, are preferred, not mandatory. It's a preferred maximum building height of 50 metres. So that's met by one part of the building and exceeded by another part of the building. The officers have provided us with their view of this, and we also are assessing that in light of various VCAT decisions that have been made around the site. And they have given us those VCAT decisions give us some really useful guidance as to what the limits of that, of the height is, and the net community benefit that we're measuring that against and that we're trying to balance that up against. So in this particular case, the height is at the least sensitive part of the site. It's at the part that backs onto the eastern part that backs onto the racecourse, and it tapers down to then being below the preferred maximum height at 45 metres, closest to the townhouses on the west. There are various community benefits that officers have put forward for this particular, or that have assessed, for this particular site that have been put forward by the applicant. One of those includes quite a large space of open space at the northern central sort of part of the site. The other, so I guess on balance, I guess what I'm saying about the height with respect to all of those different elements is that on balance it's acceptable that there's one part of the building that exceeds the preferred maximum height. The discretionary heights are sometimes confusing for this whole site. The discretionary heights are not what the height of the building should be or what the average is. It's actually a trigger for whether something is then advertised. So the fact that this was advertised is because it exceeded the discretionary heights, not that it has to meet those discretionary heights, which is something that sometimes can be a bit confusing. The other element that we've really drilled down into is the setbacks, and we've paid close attention to this on the application that's sort of to the north of this. And we have, again, some useful guidance from VCAT that came back around our refusal when the setbacks were, I think they were they just fell below what we felt was acceptable for that previous site. And VCAT has given us some useful guidance around that, highlighting that it doesn't need to be 5 metres, but that it's with sort of a contextual decision. And in my last 30 seconds, I'll quickly explain that we have conditioned this application to increase some of those setbacks so that they are in line with that VCAT decision. And we've also, there are some other conditions that I thank officers for putting forward to just make sure that this application does comply with amenity of apartments and ESD requirements as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Isa. Just to pick up a little bit where that left off, the conditions on this permit that we, if passed, will give a notice of decision of, to grant this permit, include, there's some small amendments to do with making sure that the parking areas operate smoothly, that the office car parks are on the right side of the building, that sort of thing. There's also some good conditions in there to ensure that cycling is easy and a good option around the site, as well as pedestrian walking. So making sure that there aren't any speed humps that would impede easy movement of cycling, and also a step towards improving that cycling connection between the Moonee Ponds Activity Centre and the Moonee Ponds Creek Path. Another condition in there is there is already a wind assessment for the site, but a further wind assessment of the impacts of the pedestrian walk-through between the two buildings, and any moderations required that would, as a result of that wind assessment, and having another look at the landscape planning as well. And we know that Council's running our 1-2 Tree campaign at the moment, and it would be great to have the landscaping of this area, of which there's, as Councillor Isa mentioned, with the public open space provided in this application, there is great opportunity for some really excellent deep planting of canopy trees in this area. The site at the moment, as we know, is where the grandstand is. It's pretty much all concrete, so that's going to contribute greatly. It was slightly remiss of me to not mention at the beginning of this that this is the first application of this racecourse development that I'm part of for a little while. I had a conflict of interest which is no longer in place, so that's why I'm able to participate in the decision making tonight. As Councillor Isa mentioned, the setbacks are largely acceptable, and there is that public open space in the middle of the site does make it a little bit different to what the guidelines envisage with the setbacks, in the sense that the setbacks that the guidelines ask the applications to consider are from streets, and part of the title boundary for this application will abut public open space. So the officers have done a good job of trying to assess essentially how the building will be experienced when it's built, the net community benefit that open space will bring.
Councillor Hodgson, your time has expired.
I'll finish my sentence if that's
Would
okay.
you like to finish? Sure.
Thank you.
5-second extension there.
And to ensure that pedestrian and cycling movement around the area is the best it can be. Thanks.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. And we'll welcome Councillor Sypek back to the chamber. In the meantime, we have a few of our family services staff in the gallery tonight, so I just want to acknowledge some of the fantastic work that the team have done in securing over $20 million for our kindergartens in Moonee Valley, upgrading 5 of them across the municipality. An absolutely fantastic effort, and really investing in the next generation of families and of young ones in Moonee Valley. So just acknowledging that hard work, as well as the fantastic efforts to secure the funding from Ministers Lizzie Blandthorne, Deputy Premier Ben Carroll, and local Essendon MP Minister Danny Pearson. Welcome back, Councillor Sypek. We now move on to item 9.2, response to notice of motion number 2019/26, Moonee Valley Bees Program. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Sypek.
Happy to move the officer's recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Hodgson. Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Without bees, in 3 years, the human population will have no food. It's as simple as that. And I think this program has evolved since it first began at council, when we actually stored a lot of the hives on top of our roofs and we produced bees. But unfortunately, some of our officers who volunteered their times to look after these hives are now not with us anymore, and we don't have anyone who's actually a trained arborist. So the thought pattern was to go with local community beekeepers. And we have the Moonee Valley Beekeepers Association here in Moonee Valley, and they meet at the Maribyrnong Park Bowls Club, where they meet, produce honey, look after their hives, and they're all scattered throughout the city of Moonee Valley. And every time now that a swarm is found, we call on our colleagues, beekeepers from the Moonee Valley Beekeepers Association, and they will remove the hives completely. And if anyone at home has beehives, please give us a call here at Moonee Valley or give the Moonee Valley Beekeepers. They will be more than happy to come and remove the hive because they are a lifeline. They are one of the wonderful creatures that God has produced that actually are beneficial to not only the world, to the climate, to the human society. So I'm all in favour of this report and supporting the local beekeepers.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Councillor Hodgson.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Sypek. And I note that Councillor Sypek's been a real champion of the beekeepers and this original program as well, which has built up a really thriving beekeeping community, which is fantastic to see. And as Councillor Sypek's outlined, is a benefit to us all. It was a really interesting report to read. It's amazing, and if anyone's involved in the local Facebook groups, you know that there is a very passionate beekeeping community out there, and sometimes even some local honey available for sale. I think that the report, outlines the success of the program, which was to try and hand the process of bee management over to these community groups, which are very passionate. But I would encourage, if there are, funding issues that the community groups are experiencing, that they should access our grants program, and including our partnership grants, which are open every couple of years and have a slightly more secure funding stream if there is any difficulty for them, because it is vital, I think, as they've demonstrated, that this program and this sort of activity in the community continues. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Item 9.3, response to notice of motion number 2024/02, Boeing Reserve Courts. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation with a couple of amendments, please.
Yep. What is your motion?
I'll read the whole motion. That Council resolves to note A, the considerations detailed in the report for a review of the 2014 Boeing Reserve Master Plan. B, that a review of the 2014 Boeing Reserve Master Plan and development of a netball strategy is not required at this time, as the existing netball facility network meets the current demand. And C, the opportunities in Strathmore and Strathmore Heights for partnering with local schools for the use of outdoor netball training courts, and to request the CEO to take appropriate steps to explore formal usage agreements.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bedio. Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. This report has come to us following some questions around whether the existing walk-on public tennis courts at Boeing Reserve should be converted to multi-lined tennis and netball courts. It raised the question of whether a review of the Boeing Reserve Master Plan is required, as this idea contravenes the existing master plan that was consulted on in 2014. Undertaking a full review will take between 12 to 18 months and cost $50,000. We have 42 other master plan, concept and precinct plans at other council sites that we still have incomplete, and I'd much rather spend that money on the multi-lined basketball and netball court in the existing Boeing Reserve master plan. The report discusses options for the development of outdoor netball training courts in Strathmore and Strathmore Heights. I'd like to see us explore the utilisation of netball courts at schools for training purposes, as the report suggests, and I welcome Council exploring formal usage agreements with schools to cater for demand. Thank you to our officers for this detailed report. Really appreciate the time taken reviewing the facilities and usage of netball courts for training purposes in Moonee Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Bedio.
Nothing further to add, Mayor. Very well summed up by Councillor Adams. So nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Byrne.
Thanks, Mayor. I will, and I won't be supporting this motion as it stands at this point in time. I found the report an interesting read, and from reading the report and then putting something out on social media to sort of gain a bit more feedback, it became apparent that there probably wasn't a lot of consultation with netball users to go into the report, and I don't think that that's an issue necessarily with how it was done. We didn't ask for that, and therefore it didn't occur. But there were some really big, I suppose, issues that were brought up that I wasn't aware of, and I would dare say from what I've heard the officers weren't aware of. When there is a part in the report that talks about the percentage of use of the current netball facilities. For example, at Aberfeldy Primary School, I think it was about 20% in terms of the actual usage, but what may not have been relayed on was the fact that after the after-school program closes, they can no longer use the netball courts because there's no toilet facilities available. So there's a few little things like that. There's also the part that the netball facilities on Saturday for competition at Aberfeldy. The whole competition is down at Riverside now, splitting up that competition. The idea of netball is people often go to the one space for the whole day, not necessarily move around. It hasn't been used as a competition for a couple of years now, and I don't necessarily think there is a desire. Sure, associations have to get with the times, and if there was that push for more competition space, then yes, there would be that thought. But the main issues that originated from this was two very, very large netball clubs in the Strathmore Heights Netball Club and the Strathmore Netball Club not having anywhere particularly close to be able to train. This was something that was brought to us as a budget submission last year. It hadn't really been followed up, and hence a notice of motion and trying to, get traction. There seems to be a lot of want and love for the idea of having some netball courts in Strathmore. Yes, I understand that there's a potential to look into partnerships with schools, and I'm not against that. I think that we have to do that as well, but it might be in addition. But there are issues when working with schools, like change room facilities. We talk so much in this chamber about how much we appreciate female sport, but we're talking about 3,600 players, of which it doesn't say in the report, but I dare say 95% would be female and 70% are junior, all females. Sorry, could I have a 30-second extension, Mayor?
45-second extension. Thanks,
thank
Councillor
you.
Byrne.
I dare say would be females, and a sport that so caters towards females. We're saying no, residents in Strathmore, we know that there's probably 1,000 of you that play for these two big clubs, maybe 800 of you that play for these two massive clubs, but you can travel 45 minutes to training where, oh, by the way, but you have to finish by 6 because we don't have appropriate toilet facilities. Now, I think that there's a better way around this. I do think that we should be looking at the options of an additional plan, which is an appendix to the master plan, as opposed to completely redoing the master plan, because
Councillor Byrne, your time
and I'll
has
look at
expired.
moving an amendment potentially. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, are you moving an amendment?
No, I'll let other people.
Sure.
I'm interested to hear what others have
Thank
to say.
you. Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Sypeck.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've read the officer's report and I've heard the argument of what Councillor Byrne says, and I sort of tend to agree with some of the stuff that Councillor Byrne has mentioned. It's all well and good going with a master plan, but it's been a long time between drinks in 2014, and the demand has changed over 10 years. And if we're going to wait for consultation, when we know that we have a need, we know that the community actually applied for a grant. I mean, that tells you a lot of things. If there wasn't an application for a grant, if there wasn't the emails, the communications from the netball community, I could understand, and wait to redo the master plan. But sometimes, just like in planning applications, you can have an amendment, you can have a secondary amendment. And I don't see, and I don't think this is not a complicated issue. This is support the community. This is what the community wants. This is what we as councillors should be listening to, what the community wants, and look at all avenues to get it there if we can. But, you know, if we want to wait for another master plan that's going to take another, 18 months, what do we tell the netball community? What are we going to tell them?
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Hodgson.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I just wanted to come back to what this report says about, the positive participation in netball around our municipality. And I understand the arguments that get raised in this sort of a question, but I really think at the end of the day, our community understands that as council we're balancing the needs of a lot of people. The officers have put forward that netball participation needs are being met through the existing infrastructure, and I note that there is the improvement of the Bowes Avenue netball courts that is in the budget. I think it was last year and maybe ongoing. It takes a few courts offline for a little while, but ultimately we continue to invest in netball, including with the Fairbairn South Pavilion, which is being built to support the Riverside courts. I just think, I just wanted to note that it's not, or I don't want it to become a debate where we're sort of pitting off sporting codes against each other. And I think we absolutely, invest in and try to promote and expand female participation in sport. That's been a program running for a long time, and this report does nothing to diminish the work that we've done there. I think that was all I really wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I just want to apologise, but also give a plug for mammograms. I've had a mammogram today and I'm not feeling at my best, but a plug for all women out there to go get it done. But my head's not quite in its right place. But I would like to respond to some comments that were made. Look, we're not, what we're saying in this motion, or what I'm supporting the motion and happy to do so, because I think what the motion says is that we want to support netball in our municipality, and we want to ask the CEO to undertake some works, some steps to look at how we can make use of some existing facilities in our community and how we can work with schools more closely to make those available. If there's some issues around change rooms, well, I don't think that's a reason to vote against this motion. It's a reason to perhaps see if we can assist to facilitate the change rooms being open past 6 o'clock. It seems like a simple thing for us to assist with. Work is being done at Riverside to make sure that those netball courts are available more than they are currently. So I think, I'm pretty disappointed if there's a feeling that council is not, if some sort of message is being put forward that council's not trying to respond to netball. What we're trying to do here is to look at what's available within our, and take the steps that we can within our restricted resources, and make the most of the partnerships that might be possible to provide courts for netball players. When we passed the tennis plan a couple of years ago, the tennis plan identified that the courts at Boeing Reserve were 2 of the 8 publicly available courts. That is, we only have 8 courts in the municipality that the public who are not members of tennis clubs can play on. So any move to make those courts anything other than tennis courts obviously has an impact on tennis participation, which in this chamber 2 years ago, we put a lot of effort into making sure we supported. So rather than try to pit sports against each other, if there is some need for some courts in Strathmore and Strathmore Heights, well, let's take the most efficient and effective route to making the use of some resources that are available. And particularly note that Strathmore Secondary College has previously reached out to Council to work with us on highball or netball facilities and would welcome any further steps that can be taken there. And again, I apologise for my incoherence this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. As there has been some dissent, I'll ask...
Mayor, could I please move an amendment?
Yes. What is your amendment?
Thank you. I'd like it to read that Council resolves, and then colon, A, to note the considerations detailed, and then as per the rest of A. Resolves A to note. Then B, that Council resolves, I've sent it through to governance and councillors to refer $30,000 to the 2024-25 budgeting process for an additional plan in brackets and appendix to the master plan for Boeing Reserve that focuses on the existing public tennis courts becoming a multi-use, for tennis/netball/basketball, including community consultation. And I think that last bit will and then delete, so point C no longer exists, so delete that. And I've just got to get the wording right. I'm happy for the last point to stay, but I believe the wording just needs to note needs to be added in the front.
Is what's on the screen correct, Councillor Byrne?
Just B, to refer. Council resolves to refer.
I'll note that this was only distributed just now, Councillor Byrne, so I'll ask councillors whether they're aware of what's been moved and are comfortable with it, or whether a break is required. Councillor Isa?
Could I request an adjournment, please?
Sure. How long would you like adjournment?
10 minutes, please.
10 minutes? Certainly. I'll call an adjournment for 10 minutes to return at 7:30 to look at the motion. So we'll be back soon. Welcome back, everyone. We're returning at 7:30 after a short adjournment. Councillor Byrne has just moved her amendment. I'll ask if there's a seconder. Councillor Sypek. Councillor Byrne.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I won't touch on A and C other than obviously I had to put into note just to make it read properly. I did delete the existing point B, which was that a review of the 2014 Boeing Reserve Master Plan and development of a netball strategy is not required at this time, as the existing netball facility network meets the current demand. My understanding is from deleting this point, because it was only to note, it's not that I'm putting in a netball strategy as such. It's not like that will get added in just by deleting this. I do disagree with the second half of what the existing point B was, which is that the existing netball facility network meets current demand. I very, very strongly don't believe it does. And based on the feedback and the extra information, I suppose, that's been provided from local residents recently, I don't think they do either. So that's for the reason of deleting the point B. In terms of adding in this new point B, referring $30,000, that is the number that is in the report. I tend to agree that we don't need to do a full review of the master plan. A lot of the components have already been completed. There doesn't seem to be that many more contentious issues, but this particular area within the master plan, it is contentious. Like, we have a chance to be able to fix something that is a big issue for the current community. I don't believe Strathmore Heights Netball Club existed when the master plan went out. Strathmore Netball Club definitely wasn't as big. In fact, I think they actually went under another name 10 years ago, if my memory serves me correct. So the change that has happened over the 10 years is so significant. Spending a small amount of money to ensure that when we do elements within a master plan, which effectively is a future vision for what we want, I think is money well spent. We spent a lot of money in this council planning for certain things. This is something that has been brought to us. It is constantly discussed, and I think that it is really worthwhile going out, having a chat to the community about how this will potentially work, and if it can, and combining. Now, tennis and netball seem to work fairly well at Riverside. Netball and basketball seem to work fairly well at Rose Avenue. Now, how all three of them will potentially work, I can see that they should be able to. Now, whether there's an issue with tennis and basketball, maybe one court some one way or the other, however that consultation comes out, I don't want to, pre-plan it. I've put basketball in there because we might be able to save money by changing that, tiny bit of the plan that had that recreational use. At the end of the day, I'm trying to increase participation of sport in this city. I want young kids to be able to play. The community have very clearly said that they want this. I'm very passionate about these sports, and I would like to see this area of Boeing Reserve used to its full potential.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And what Councillor Byrne says is correct. But like I said before, the community applied for a grant. They want this. And look, and I think our office has done a great job. I'm not saying anything that there's anything done wrong here. I think everything's correct, everything's fine. But I also think that you've got to sometimes look a little bit outside the square. And if the community are contacting us and asking us that they need this, you've got to listen to that. And you've got to also look at the facts that they're applying for grants because they are short. They do want to play this. And this is not about pitting one sport against the other. This is about increasing sport overall in Moonee Valley. It's not about, directing money here, there, or everywhere. This is about increasing sport. And that's what we, as guardians and our stewardship, is all about, doing what the community want us to do. And I think that's a very, very important thing when they're asking for it.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak on the amendment? Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, there's no doubt that we, get a lot of feedback from, different sports about the lack of facilities in Moonee Valley, and we absolutely do take on board the feedback that we get. It's not about pitting sports against each other. It's more about there's, different needs for different sports, and we're talking about three very different sports here. One with the tennis, so there's existing walk-up tennis courts at Boeing Reserve that are, used. In 2021, we endorsed the Growth in Tennis Plan, which identifies the need for even more tennis courts, and mentions the 2 public courts at Boeing Reserve, and in fact recommends a 3rd tennis court be built there. So we know that tennis is in demand in the Strathmore area. There's no doubt that there's a lack of, training facilities for netball around Strathmore and Strathmore Heights. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And all of us want to, support increased participation, and particularly for netball, the growth in Strathmore has been huge, and that is, thanks to the incredible community down there that have really grown that sport. The problem is I can't support the notion of a multi-use for tennis, netball and basketball. I don't even know how a court can be multi-lined for 3 sports, being those 3 that are open to the public for casual use. Logistically, it would have to be a challenge. If the intent is to keep this open for public use, how do we expect casual users who want to play tennis convert a court that has been set up for basketball or netball? The 2 sports couldn't be more different. One requires a net in the middle of the court with 2 steel poles on either side that would require them to be removed, and the others require a huge steel pole in the middle of each end of serving lines on a tennis court. It just doesn't make any sense to me, so I don't actually know how that could work. I mean, I'd love to convert all of our sporting grounds into multi-use. It would be, we would solve all of our problems and it would be amazing, but it's just logistically not possible. I don't see how that can work. The other issue I have with this is also the process that's been followed here, and so I'm just not going to support it in its current form. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Hodgson.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I also won't be able to support this amendment. My concern is that, look, if there's disagreement that existing netball facility network is meeting the current demand, that's certainly something we can look at, and we are in the middle of the budget process as the amendment highlights. And through that budget process, we have a lot of opportunity for information, but the information in front of me at the moment from the officers is that the solution of multi-lining courts at Boeing Reserve is not an appropriate one for meeting netball demand. And I'm not going to debate whether or not there is a current, not meeting the current demand. But the report just outlines that Boeing Reserve, as Councillor Adams has referred to, the risks there, and they are outlined in section 3.4 of the report about the operational challenges associated with multi-court facilities when they are walk-up. And so I think it's different down at Riverside, where it's bookable courts, and that transition between tennis and netball is facilitated through the management of that facility. But the impacts of having netball facilities up at Boeing where they're not planned for, and the flow on, are outlined in the reports. The additional master plan, the report says that prioritising that option would have a detrimental impact on other planning processes. I have a concern that that the site has been thought of, yes, there's a lot of space up at Boeing Reserve, but I'm just not sure that it's worth us trying to put the square peg in the round hole for this one. If there's an unmet demand that we need to address, let's have a look and get some advice on what would be an appropriate site. I think the officers have recommended that if there's unmet demand, it could be met through partnering with schools, and so Part C addresses that. But I can't support councillors picking a site of Boeing Reserve against the advice of the officers who suggest that it's not the appropriate site for expanding netball facilities. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, the report considers whether this is an advisable path to take, and the report, or the officers consider it, and write in the report that prioritising this approach would have a detrimental impact on other planning processes and delay the master plan implementation at other council sites where 42 current master plan concept or precinct plans exist. So we've got, as Councillor Hodgson mentioned, clear advice from officers that to jump straight to this option is inadvisable and would have an impact on a number of other open space projects that we're trying to catch up on, really. And as I said before, there's I see one of the solutions that's put forward in the report is to approach schools and work through the availability of resources there. I think, and I was also mentioned that the tennis strategy, and tennis community obviously hasn't been consulted ahead of any of this, that the tennis strategy sets out for us something that we decided to do in this chamber a couple of years ago. So what's been proposed here is a bit out of the blue in terms of a councillor putting it to us at midway during a meeting and not flagging it with councillors prior. And we haven't had the opportunity to work through those other contextual pieces of the context and the different strategies and the implications. I think the other really important thing that might be, it's easy for councillors perhaps to understand, but might need some communication to community members, is that we're currently in the middle of our budget process, and what our budget process involves is councillors spending many hours talking about the merits of hundreds of different projects and working through the costs and implications and merits of all of those projects. Now, there is nothing to stop anyone bringing this particular project to our budget process, but our budget process is not in a 3-minute debate around the chamber in this way. This is not how we try to put forward a well-informed and well-evidenced budget. Our budget process involves making sure that we have all of the information that we need to make decisions about where to spend very limited resources. So I won't be supporting this, sorry, I just have 10 more seconds or so. I won't be supporting this particular amendment, not because necessarily it's not meritorious.
Extension 10 seconds.
Thank you. But because we don't have the information to go against our officers' advice here, and I welcome any further debate through the budget process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Councillor Bedio, would you like to speak? I note... no, thank you. Councillor Byrne, would you like a right of reply, as there has been dissent?
I will. Thank you, Mayor. Look, we've got, an over $200 million budget that we approve, and less than half of that is obviously, a third of it is capital work. So I get what people are saying. We are in a financial, we do have financial constraints, but $30,000 in terms of what we do as a council is actually not a considerable, huge, massive amount. I think there was a comment in regards to the netball demand. I feel like I need to make this quite clear. Even by doing these courts and having them multi-line is actually, I don't think it's still necessarily going far enough. That's why I didn't delete point C, because we probably still need to take into account every available space we have for multiple sports using, working in partnership with different schools. We're a landlocked municipality. We've been through this a million times. We need to create options working with schools or on council land to be able to facilitate our people in our city playing sport. What I felt like I was hearing a lot of was along the lines of we love netball, we love women playing sport, we love all this. Like, we're not going to put 30 grand into doing it. We can, take the easier option of looking into schools. Not on council land, we'll do it on school land. We do love netball, but we don't want to take this, what I see is actually a really relatively small, uncontroversial step. In terms of changing the polls over, that's noted, like, it gets done. There seems to be so much goodwill down in Strathmore. I feel like it can be facilitated. Yes, it might be harder work than normal, but when there is a community pushing as hard as they are at the moment for this, like, surely we give it a go. Our officers...
Councillor Byrne, your time has expired.
Okay. Could I please have 10 seconds?
30-second extension.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. And the last thing was that our Bowes Avenues courts, which house Strathmore Heights Netball Club and other clubs, are going from 3 to 2, and that is going to create problems. So this, again, it frees up help in Airport West at Bowes Avenue. So I'll leave it at that because I know I've run out of time.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. I'll put that amendment to the vote. All those in favour? It is Councillor Byrne, Councillor Sypek, Councillor Bettio. All those against? Councillor Adams, Councillor Hodgson, Councillor Isa, Councillor Tyson. I declare that lost. We now return to the substantive, and I'll just ask governance to remove, go back on the screen. While that's happening, I'm sure Councillor Adams is... What's your amendment, Councillor Byrne?
The screen. Would you like me to wait for it to go back on the screen?
No, that's fine, if you're aware of what you're moving.
From point B, to delete the words after is not required.
Is that correct, Councillor Byrne? I thought you said delete is not required, or is delete everything after?
No, that's correct, as per on the screen.
So a new point B to read that a review of the 2014 Boeing Reserve Master Plan and development of a netball strategy is not required.
Correct.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Sypek. Councillor Byrne.
Okay, obviously lost the last one, but I figure if this is going forward to a vote, then I may as well improve it to the best of my ability with the amendments I'm able to move. I appreciate the officer's report, but as mentioned earlier, we didn't ask necessarily for there to be consultation with the community done at the time. Since putting things out on social media, it has become abundantly clear to me and hearing from people from various different clubs that the existing netball facility network it just does not meet current demand. I don't actually think by deleting this line it really makes that much of a difference in terms of what we're achieving with this particular motion anyway. We're still saying we're not going to do a review of the master plan, we're not developing a netball strategy, The netball strategy was something that was put in as a random amendment to the motion initially last time, and I probably agree with the fact of not doing a Boeing Reserve master plan, because I don't think we need to do the whole master plan. We probably do just need to stick to the slightly smaller area. So the first half of the sentence I'm okay with, but the second half just doesn't make sense. And as I said, I think it's almost like, you know, poking the bear by putting it in there. It just doesn't, I think with new information, it's just not necessary. I think we can take it out and still achieve what we were planning to with, what the officers were planning to with the motion. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Councillor Sypek.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, to me, it seems like basketball is not a priority, and now netball is going to be not a priority. So all this says to me is Moonee Valley is quite content with the standard of netball within the municipality. It's happy with the amount of courts that we got, and we're not interested in any expansion whatsoever, and we're disregarding the grant applications that have been put to council. Now, from what I can see here, I think there probably most likely will be grants probably in the future, and yes, we are in a budget process, and I think after this debate, I think you'll find netball will most likely go through the right channels and apply through the budget submission process to see if they can get some extra courts. So I look forward to seeing what transpires in the next couple of months.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak on the amendment? Councillor Isa.
Thanks. Look, I won't be supporting the amendment, as the words that at the end of that sentence of Part B give it a temporal element that are really important, because what it now says is that the development of a netball strategy is not required, literally full stop. What the words that have been removed add to it are that at this very point in time, because there's some current demand is being met according to the detail of the report. What we're looking at in point C is the future needs and reaching out to schools to see if the future growth of netball can be accommodated through some resources that we can partner with to make good use of resources across the municipality. So those words that have been deleted are really, really important to making sure that netball in the future is going to be looked after. So I think that perhaps the grammar and the meaning of those words that have been deleted has perhaps either been misunderstood or not appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, as there has been dissent, I'll ask Councillor Byrne whether she would like a right of reply.
I will, and look, I've moved my 2 amendments now, so I would have considered withdrawing and putting forward another one, but I won't. But if this one gets up, then I suppose there's an opportunity for somebody else to move an amendment and potentially keep in the words "at this time." Obviously, we can have a motion that says the development, of a netball strategy is not required, and then down the track we can decide that it is required. So I don't think it's the biggest issue. I think that by having a motion that we're saying is correct, by saying that as the existing netball facility network meets the current demand, the existing netball facility network does not meet the current demand. So I cannot support something that I feel, and I know, and the community know, it's just incorrect. And I don't necessarily think it's the officers was the officer's intention, but I think that there's been new information that has come to light late, which means that second half, it's not right, and I don't want to be supporting that. Now, as I said, if someone wants to move a further amendment to add in at this time, sure, happy with it, but I'm not in the position to be able to do that at the moment. So that's my thought of, that's my amendment. I really want to try to support, what's going on down at Boeing Reserve, and I want to be able to support this motion, but I need to ensure that the motion is, the best possible motion it can be, and working hard to try to achieve that.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. I'll put that amendment to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Byrne, Councillor Sypek, Councillor Bedio. All those against? Councillor Adams, Councillor Hodgson, Councillor Isa, Councillor Tyson. I declare that lost.
Mayor, can I
We
please
return
ask
to
for
the
the
16th.
motion to be split? Thanks.
Thank you. I'll note your request. Consider it for a moment. I'll accept your request, Councillor Byrne, and split the motion into three parts. That is that Council resolves to note, and then A, that Council resolves to note B, and Council resolves to note C. As there has been dissent of the substantive motion, I'll ask Councillor Adams whether she would like a right of reply. Thank you. I will now put to the vote Part A. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. I'll put point B to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Adams, Councillor Hodgson, Councillor Isa, Councillor Tyson. That's correct. Governance. Apologies for everyone at home. We were just getting the correct point B up. That is now on the screen. I'll put point B to the vote once more. All those in favour? That is Councillor Adams, Councillor Hodgson, Councillor Isa, Councillor Bedio, Councillor Tyson. All those against? Councillor Byrne and Sypek. I declare that carried. And I will put point C to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. All three parts of the motion are carried. We now move on to item 9.4, approve extension of contract number 203287 for the provision and supply of delivered meals. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Isa.
Move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bedio. Councillor Isa, would you like to speak to the motion?
The past couple of years, the Mayor and I have participated in a delivery of some meals to residents at Christmas time. And the first year we did it was slightly awkward because there was some comment on the quality of the meals. The second year we did it, there was a complete reversal of that, and I was really very relieved that we seemed to be delivering Christmas meals to people that they were really welcoming and enjoying. So I certainly support the change that's been made to the quality and the really appreciate the work the officers have done to make sure that there's been an improvement in the meals that we deliver. To an increasing number of residents. The numbers just, obviously word of mouth has gone around that the meals are of a higher quality, and it's not just older people who receive meals, it's a range of people, whether it's people with disabilities or other vulnerabilities, making use of the service. And so I'm really proud to be part of a council that makes sure that we continue to provide a service. Should I stop talking? Happy very much to support the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Sorry for the disruption. Sometimes there are things we need to do around council. Councillor Bedio, would you like to speak?
Thanks, Mayor. Through you, not much further to add other than to state that this is a fantastic service that we provide to council, and a vital one at that. And I too will second Councillor Isa's comments that I'm glad to see that the quality of the meals have improved and that our constituents are enjoying the meals that are being provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Hodgson.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I really enjoyed reading this because it not only is a credit to the Chef's Kitchen who cook the meals, but also the comments respond to our wonderful council staff who deliver the meals, and so a shout out to them as well. And I'll just read a few quotes from the respondents to the survey since the change of the meals. I love it, enjoying the new service thoroughly, the quality and variety. Very happy with this service, delivered by caring and friendly people, similar to previous excellent, kind and dedicated service from top to bottom. So I think it's really wonderful, happy to approve the extension of what look to be very tasty meals, and thanks again to the wonderful caring staff who deliver them.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Byrne.
Thanks, Mayor. Back in 2018, we made what I would say probably one of the best council decisions in the 7 years that I've been on council, and that was for Moonee Valley Council to stay in as being a provider of certain aged care services. And one of the reasons why we did that at the time was because of the significant uncertainty in regards to how the My Aged Care rollout will occur. Now, this was quite a few years ago now, and guess what? We're still in the block funding stage, and we're still there's still so much unknown about how much things will cost and how much things will change. Now, there is going to be a massive shift from where we are with CHISP funding to support at home program when that all comes in, and this has been, what I've read, it's been aligned to the 30th of June 2027, so hopefully that aligns really well. But what we're able to do in this space by, still being in the My Aged Care area, and as you said, not all My Aged Care clients, but that would be some, is we're able to help provide, nutritious and affordable meals. And everyone, the feedback that I've also heard and what's in the report is that the standard is significantly better. And I suppose, it had to be. It had to get with the times. Many, many years ago, Uber Eats didn't even exist. And we probably want people to be going along the more nutritional option than, just plugging whatever they can into their phone. So I'm really glad that we have stayed in a particular service. I'm really glad that we're still doing the community meals, especially while there's still so much uncertainty. And I hope that we can continue to support particularly people who are vulnerable within our community. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Item 9.5, endorsement of public memorial applications. The officer's recommendation is on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Hodgson.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Adams. Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, in line with our new public memorial policy, we have 2 applications from members of the community, both separately, from family members of the people who they request are memorialised. The attached applications are a really great read. They're an interesting glimpse into our community's history. And it's really wonderful to be in a position to be able to support memorialising Peter and Moira Byrne in the very appropriate place of the Green Spine in Airport West, where they were avid walkers and contributed greatly to the community up there, and to John and Marjorie Kirk, the proprietors of Kirk's Bazaar in Essendon, and their plaque to go into Woodlands Park. Hopefully, as people walk past those benches, they'll be able to, if they knew the people on the plaques, remember them, or just learn a little bit more about the local area and the work of people that make our municipality so great.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson. Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Hodgson. Very happy to support these applications and hope that this goes a long way to helping the families celebrate their loved ones.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. At this point, we'll take a quick 5-minute break. So we'll return at 8:08 and we'll be back soon. Welcome back to the council meeting, returning at 8:15. We've just passed item 9.5 on the agenda, and we'll move to item 9.6, Governance Report Quarter 1 2024. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Isaac.
Mayor, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation with an amendment, please.
Yep. What are your amendments?
If the motion could read that Council resolves to A, receive and note the Quarter 1 2024 Governance Report containing the then :1 record of informal meetings of councillors for the period from 29th of January 2024 to 26th of March 2024, attachment 1, then point 2, record of the formal communication sent and received due to a notice of motion during January, February and March 2024, attachment 2, and 3, record of the open notices of motion up to 26th of March 2024, attachment 3, and then B, where relevant, authorise the CEO to amend the attachments to ensure attendance of the municipal monitors is listed in a separate column.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Hodgson. Councillor Isaac, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, it's okay, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Hodgson? No? Would any councillor like to speak to the motion? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. We now... Apologies, councillors, I've mixed up my notes a bit. We now move on to item 10, notices of motion, and there's none listed on the agenda. Item 11 is urgent business. Councillors, do we have any urgent business? If not, we have no confidential reports in item 12, and therefore I will close the meeting tonight at 8:17. Thank you to everyone who's joined us on the live stream. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.